Path of Exile's Affliction is honestly one of the best things I have ever seen in gaming. And that is only because of competition. Because let's be real, when Diablo 4 came out, all it did was just take a giant steamy pile in the bed and called it a day. But currently, through a lot of work, it has slowly become a game where the casual player can just play it for a long time. It has actual retention numbers. And now, because of that, well, Path of Exile needs to step their game up. They need to show everyone that they're big. And, well, this is one of the biggest things ever, and it's absolutely amazing. Let's see.
So first, let's start with the good things, and there are a lot of good things. There are, quick TLDR, a lot more good things than bad things. So there are a
Nice.
huge amount of new possibilities for skills, and the reason for that is they are removing enchants, alternate quality gems, and unique threshold jewels are all being removed from the game, and we are getting transfigured gems instead. Now, the way this is going to work is first they've reworked the base quality on a lot of gems. So as a quick example, Tornado Shot, the base quality at 20 quality is now one additional projectile. And there are loads.
This is probably my favorite and biggest thing ever. Because by doing this, Path of Exile is slowly but surely just taking the route of Last Epoch's skill design. Because Last Epoch, maybe it's not the most popular game, but it is by far the best game in the genre. Path of Exile, Diablo 4, none of these games can even hold a candle to how good Last Epoch honestly is. It's unique, it's fun, it has everything. And one of my biggest problems with Path of Exile was the fact that, well, your skills never change. Your skills always feel the same. The biggest change in skill, how it feels you can do, is, well, honestly, just add multiple projectiles or, chain or something like that and slightly increase the range. But with this change, all the skills are gonna feel different. Every time you level that gem, it's gonna feel good. You're not just leveling up damage, you're leveling up something that makes it feel better. And this is huge. This is gonna make it so the casual player just loves PoE so much more. It's huge.
Of changes like this where instead of just getting the generic 20% increased damage, they have things that are either increased effect, increased cooldown recovery, or things that generally change the way a skill works, like base radius, base duration, and really interesting things that are actually going to impact the gems. And that is just the actual base thing. So
That's
really, really
big.
good there, and happy with that. And they're adding transfigured gems, which is going to, some are going to be completely changing the way skill gems work. As a quick example, there is an alternate quality or a transfigured gem for zombies that instead of raising them, there's no race limit, but they're now instantly dying and falling out of the sky. So it's like a plummeting zombie that's just like flashing. I'm literally heavily considering league starting this. I don't know how hard it's going to be to actually get the zombie gem, but hopefully that's something I can grind out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome, doesn't it? That's a completely different way to play the game. That's a completely different feel. And now that Path of Exile potentially slowly is starting to get it, that's gonna be big. That's gonna be really big.
Now, and this is something we'll have access to instead of the Divine Font in Lab. So the Divine Font now, instead of giving you a helmet enchant or glove enchant, boot enchant, or belt enchant, they're all gone. They will now give you the option of changing the gem. You can upgrade the gem to an exceptional gem, so you can get easy access to Empower, Enlighten, and Enhance like never before. This isn't something that you have to fully commit to, because let's say that I'm using my Raise Zombie gem and I put it in the Transfigure thing, and one of the outcomes isn't the one I want, it isn't the gem I want, I can just pull it back out. I don't have to commit to it. So I can just go and try again until I get the one I want. So I don't have to worry about
That's good.
breaking the gem. So that is a nice touch of quality of life they've already added. And this looks super cool. There are so many new things that this is going to change the way it works, and how we're probably going to get more new build options than we've ever had before.
Yes.
Now, will that change?
And that's big. That is absolutely big. Removing a lot of the bloated boring mechanics from PoE is very important, because there's too much mechanics. When a bad PoE player and a good PoE player have only one difference amongst themselves, and that is one has read 3 light novels on how to craft gear, that's a bad game, okay? PoE does not have enough actual hardness to it. It's just reading through multiple Wikipedia articles about how to craft gear or following guides. That is not the kind of hardness that most people honestly want in games. So, this removes a lot of the useless complexity. Well, not from crafting, but, at someday they will also make crafting not a novel reader's task, but, whatever.
Change the leveling meta, which has been very stale for a while. Like, the meta itself, every league has been quite different. We're seeing new and interesting builds with either uniques from the league or different powers from the league, saying new things every league. And that's been quite good for a while now, even though you'll still see people complaining about it. But the league meta has been very stale for a long time. Now, I do think this is a decent amount of changes. So there should be so much stuff to try that maybe that won't be the biggest deal. I'm personally very keen on trying the falling zombies. I either want to try like maybe a Hierophant or a champion with Ignite, Hierophant with totems. I know there's so many ideas there. And will it work with double Monte Gros's grasp? There's no summon limit, so it might. I shouldn't have said that in a video. Scratch that. We're also getting Blight will now work with Contagion. Now, it's going to be really, really interesting how that works. So maybe there's a possibility of a like Contagion ED or Contagion Blight build being back. So now those Chaos builds have traditionally struggled a little bit on damage. Like it's quite hard to get over 2 million damage on those builds. And right now, the way the current meta is, and like, as power creep happens, you get used to a new level of power creep. Like back in the day, 300,000 DPS was really, really good. Obviously, isn't anymore. Yeah. Right now, I'm sitting at somewhere like I feel pretty happy if my build's over 2 million, but I'm really comfortable if it's like 5 to 15 million damage, which is quite hard for a new player to get to. But for veteran players, that is becoming more and more achievable.
For a new player, I think it's pretty much impossible unless you're actually following a guide. I'm not sure if I have ever heard of a new player actually, completing something, a real pinnacle boss at the first time they go around. If they do, they really struggled. But I have never heard of a new player who doesn't use guides who actually makes something that broken and that good. Because again, you need to read Wikipedias a long time to understand crafting and how to best craft it and use passive building, which, if your game requires an external source like passive building, your game's bad, technically. Because that is not a good game. It's a good game for a very, very minor amount of people, which is not your target audience anyway, okay? Believe it or not, hardcore PoE losers, you're actually not the target of grinding gear games. Yeah, they wish you didn't exist, and that more normal and casual people came to the game.
Chaos dot skills, however, really hard to get over 2 million. I think the most I've ever had on one is either 5 or 7 million on a hardcore character while remaining really tanky. If I think I can get Blight up to like a really, really nice level, I might consider making a league starter for it. Obviously, I have a big history with Essence Drain. Would love to do something very similar to that again, but we'll see. I obviously also don't want to like give people something bad to start the league with. So we'll see what we can crack out and hopefully give you something nice to play. But we will be making a lot of league starters as you're used to. Now, we are getting 3 new ascendancies.
Nice.
Yep. And what new class does that come with? None. This is a second ascendancy for your character in addition. You can be a berserker and a warlock or whatever it's called. So there are 3 new ascendancies, and they're like add-on ascendancies. I don't really know what to call.
By the way, I'm not gonna lie, this does not look fair at all. If you look at this 3, now these are probably like super OP or whatever, right? But you look at this 3, and this 3, I mean, they're not even close in the realm of comparison. But a second ascendancy, yes please, daddy. Yes please, give it to me, okay? Because let's be real, currently the ascendancies don't mean anything. If you play Path of Exile, you know that there's no classes in the game, okay? Because there's very little actually unique things that you can do. The best example of unique class is, I guess, the Necromancer, because that is supposed to be your summoner-esque type of build, right? Even though other classes can also do it, but you know, again, that's the thing. There's not enough uniqueness. No class feels unique. Whenever if someone who is familiar with Path of Exile is thinking about playing the game, they're not thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna be a Hierophant." No, no one's thinking that ever. When someone is playing Path of Exile, they're only thinking one thing: which skill gem do I want to use? That's it. And then, based on the skill that you want to use, you pick your class with the biggest multipliers to that. That's it. And that's the reason why there is no class uniqueness, and it's just a bunch of, well, MacGuffins, essentially. Yeah. And maybe this will change it. Maybe this is going to be the big thing that actually makes your class feel unique. Even if it's 3 classes only, hey, it's better than 0 classes that we currently have.
All them. But there are like affliction ascendancies, and they're very, very interesting.
And by the way, do not get me wrong, okay? Getting the Ascension in PoE feels good, feels impactful, but that's because it's usually something that changes your game drastically right off the bat. But it's not unique. It just feels like a damage multiplier.
So, for example, we have things like the Wildwood Primalist, which is the most interesting one to me, because this is basically putting sanctified relics back in the game. If you see here in the background on the open slots on the ascendancy tree, and we get the same amount of points like a normal ascendancy, so you will be able to get that last one there. And these 3 blanket ones, they're basically like sanctified relics, where you'll be able to drop these cool things that look like parts of other ascendancies. Like you can get
melee hits have a 19% chance to fortify. That's huge.
the Juggernaut's move,
and that's, you're probably going to be also not only be able to see uncommon of these, but rare ones. Wow.
movement speed cannot be modified below base value, but also
That's
with
also
melee hits have a
huge.
chance to fortify. So these are going to be insane, and
Yep.
they are tradable. They're unmodifiable, so you will hope to drop like a really good.
Cursed enemies, you or your minions kill have a chance to explode, dealing a quarter of their. This is fine. If it, you know, this is, well, actually, this is almost like an ascendancy point on its own, which is crazy. From what's it called? The Oculist? Effects of the contagion ground create linger for 2 seconds. Okay.
Combo are a really good one. Like one here is the Occultist Corvine Charm of the Inquisitor. With cursed enemies, you or your minions kill have a 14%.
Wait a minute. Dude, but this is crazy, absolutely. Gain Arcane Surge when you or your totem hit an enemy with a spell.
Cursed enemies,
Okay.
you or your
Chance to inflict wither for 2 seconds on hit. 5 chance to take less area damage from hits. That's, I never liked these like 5% chance to take less things like that. They're kind of boring.
minions kill have a 14% chance to
Projectiles have a 7% chance to be able to chain when colliding with terrain. Weak.
explode, dealing a quarter of their max.
Minimum endurance charges, minimum power charges. That's pretty nice, but I don't. You know what was my biggest disappointment with minimum power charges? You couldn't use it to cast Frenzy perpetually, and you couldn't use it to cast Discharge perpetually. That was my most biggest disappointment with minimum power charge. Well, with minimum charges.
Maximum life is chaos
Sad.
damage, and effects of consecrated ground. You create linger for 2 seconds. You can have 3 of these, and they have confirmed that if you put 3 of these in, they do stack. So there are going to be some insane combos here, and again, you get these on top of your normal ascendancy. So I could have this on a champion, get fortify and all the defensive stuff I need, and then maybe get really good clear speed and things. And they're probably also going to be pretty easy to like swap in and out. So between these 3 new ascendancies, you also have that one. You have the Warden of the Magi, and you also have the Warlock of the Mist. They're very, very interesting. And if you're thinking like, wow, these...
Is this Warden of the Magi, or this is supposed to be the Warden of the Magi? Magi, I think.
all look really
Well, Magi is the same, I guess.
cool, and they actually all do look really cool and have interesting stuff on them. I think the Primalist, Wildwood Primalist is the most interesting one to me. That's the socket one. Probably the one I'll end up running the most. The other two are both.
You see, this is a failure of PoE. The Primalist is not the interesting one. The Primalist is actually the lamest one. The reason he's interested in that is because he's looking at this like the typical ascendancies, where it's just a multiplier. That is the problem. And for anyone who plays PoE on a hardcore level who wants to do endgame bosses, no one cares about, ew, this ascendancy is cool, or this ascendancy makes me be unique. No. It's like, okay, I can choose this ascendancy, which is a 20% damage multiplier, or this, which is a 30% damage multiplier. And the reason he's looking at that ascendancy is because that one is clearly currently the absolute biggest damage multiplier that we can see. That is why he wants it. And this is the objective failure of PoE as a game.
That's really interesting as well.
Now, admittedly, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to be hardcore and getting the biggest amount of multipliers and whatnot, but you can have that and feel unique, which would be the better outcome. Okay, just an ascendancy having good multipliers is not bad, but ascendancies having good multipliers and making you feel unique and special, that's bigger. And that's what the game should be going for. But currently, it's just big multipliers. Which is, again, they're big enough so everyone feels happy. Again, everyone does their ascendancies as soon as possible. Because they feel good. They're giant multipliers and they feel good. But if it was giant multiplier plus you get some to feel good about it, that would be even better.
Especially Warlock of the Mist has some really interesting stuff for boss killing, and that is Choir of the Damned. It will require a little bit knowledge of like how much cooldown it has and stuff, but it is it curses a single enemy, causing them to spawn multiple phantasms when hit. Now, if that's something that regularly happens, this is really cool for things like Bone Zone, really cool for Arc, and loads of things as well. Really excited for how that's going to be. And these phantasms will also have 50% chance to grant a Vile Soul on death and 50% increase fast charges. So much benefit to be had here. And this doesn't require dropping or anything. This just requires leading that quest from Affliction and Ascending. And yeah, they said you can switch between them. You just need to do the quest of the that NPC. So it sounds like something that'll actually be pretty swappable between.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to swap these things out pretty freely. Well, not freely, but you know, you find an NPC, you do a quest, and you know, then it's good.
Really nice. The league itself does look really interesting. It looks like Delve in the Woods with some Sentinel inspiration. There are monsters now that are going to be empowered and drop a lot of currency, and they will be empowered by 3 different things similar to Sentinel.
I'm not gonna lie, that's probably the worst mechanic. You know why? Because while leveling, you're gonna encounter the mechanic and you're gonna go in it because, well, ascendancy. Obviously, you're gonna go in it, right? And you go in it, you do the thing, and well, now you're in a map that you're not clearing because you just want to get to the next map because you're questing. You're just leveling, right? So you're gonna miss out on a lot of those creep spawns, those super rare Wisp empowered creep spawns. So that's gonna be pretty lame if that happens.
One that gives more quantity, one that gives.
But in maps, it's gonna be pretty amazing, probably.
More rarity, and one that gives more currency, and they can be buffed by multiple where they will just out stuff. Which sounds really great. It's supposed to be rippy and rewarding, and yeah, I think this is really nice. Sounds like something that's really nice, brainless and blasty that you just blast through. There is a boss as well as part of the league, and it is going to be similar to Lycia in danger levels. We're not getting a pinnacle level boss like Maven or Exarch or anything like that. It is a Lycia level boss, so obviously can be kind of dangerous and stuff, but it is not going to be something that'll kick your shit in. The league itself is just like, you know, it's a wait and see. It's not something that has me jumping out of my seat. It does look very interesting. It's more the things that are tied to it, right? Like the ascendancies look super fun. etc. Especially the fact that they're like droppable and tradable, like Sanctified Relic.
This is also going to be very interesting in the sense that, well, this looks like a league that you're not going to skip the league mechanic. Because, let's be honest, most of the times you check out the league mechanic once if it takes you to another zone, and, well, then you just don't. You just stop. You no longer do that. It is what it is. You know, until you're max level and you start mapping and then you do it. But until that point, yeah, this looks something like you're gonna do.
The first thing I was thinking is, dude, I literally...
There have been many, many leagues where it starts, I make it, I do it one time, and that's it, that's it. Not doing it until mapping. Yeah, sadly, true.
Best time I ever had playing PoE was doing Bro SF with my friend Steel Mage. So that's definitely on the table. I've told him I'm down to do that if he wants to. So balls in his court. We'll see what he wants to do. To think about what he wants to do as well. Obviously, there's a lot of choices here with either going Trade League or Hardcore Solo Self-Found. And with other things that are making a comeback this league, Ultimatum is coming back. People have been wanting that. It's the most heavily requested thing ever. But at what cost? We did lose everybody's favorite league, Meta.
I like this league, but I did not get far. I think I stopped playing this league on Act 3. But I did like it. I did like it. This was one of the better leagues, but for sure.
Metamorph. Record scratch. Okay, so Metamorph died. I'm very happy about that. That's the #1 thing that I wanted removed from the game because I think I just hate it. It's been like weirdly balanced. It doesn't really add much, at least in my opinion. Now, obviously, there will be people that disagree. There are some people that really like Metamorph. I just don't personally feel like it has a huge place in the game and doesn't really have a huge need to be there. That being said, Ultimatum is back and people have really wanted that, which I think is a little bit odd. Now, I'm not a huge lover of Metamorph, and all the stuff from Metamorph is now part of the core game. You're not losing the uniques, etc. And the catalysts are a reward from Ultimatum now. So don't worry about that. It's just you're losing Tane and interacting with those super ripping Metamorphs. That being said, people love Ultimatum. They go crazy for it every time. Even though the Trial Master is already back in the game, which is the only thing to possibly care about, in my opinion. People are like, I want Ultimatum. We need it back in the game. The rework, however, does look pretty cool. So I'm actually pretty excited to do a lot of Ultimatum this league. I was more hoping they would completely scrap Ritual and maybe combine the way the rewards in Ultimatum and Ritual work. So maybe a little bit more choice like Ritual. And not having to be in 4 different rituals. So more like Ultimatum on the actual engagement mechanic. Because in my opinion, Ultimatum and Ritual are basically the same mechanic with slightly different rewards. It's just like a skin.
Most PoE leagues are just slightly different mechanics of all the leagues with the skin, honestly. Well, some are, some aren't. Some are pretty distinct and unique, but you know, some aren't, and that's not a problem. I don't know, I like it. Hey, I want Kalandra to return. I don't know what's wrong with you people, but I liked Kalandra. I really did for some reason. I didn't think it's obnoxious. I didn't think it's stupid. I liked it.
And I'm not a big fan of stopping 4 times in a map. If I'm gonna do it, I'd rather do it in one spot. But you know, to each their own. It is obviously a very popular mechanic, so I am glad for other people that they have brought it back. And what I do love about it is that the Blight gloves, which are called Breath Stealer or something, I can't remember the exact name, but I believe they're called Breath Stealer, and they're basically like Headhunter if you're standing still in a location. So they're really good for Blight, really good for Ultimatum, and they offer a lot of defensive stuff as well. So they'll be a really cool thing to farm. It makes me want to do some Blight early to try to grab those because they are really good for survival in there. And with the Trial Master map being removed, they have inserted a unique jewel to the game that you get by finding those like fragments like you did to get the map before. Now, this is really interesting, and I really hope that this is a Watcher's Eye type jewel where it's something you want to keep combining this repeatedly to get a good one. So I hope that it's not like a static unique with no rolls or anything. I hope it's something that's super RNG so that you have a cool chase item, something fun to farm. That's, you guys know me, that's like the #1 thing I love. And Watcher's Eyes are such a cool thing as well. So hopefully we'll see. But it'll be really, really interesting to have more things to farm for like that. There are several big quality of life things coming to the game as well, like being able to split things while having a trade window open. The Delirium thing, if you've engaged a mechanic so that's paused and you run ahead.
I haven't seen Righteous Fire in a long time, but mamma mia, this looks good.
Head of it, it is no longer
So, what is this? Okay. Fire aura. Is that it? Is he just blowing things up with ashes? That's it?
going to expire.
Okay.
The huge one.
Interesting.
And like small, lovely things like this. And I always want to give a shout out to like the graphics and audio team. They always get a line in every patch note saying continues to incrementally increase graphics and audio. And it really is wonderful to see how far Path of Exile's gotten since 2013, where it literally looked like a piece of garbage. And now, honestly, there's so many good audio things. There's so many good graphics things. And it's a very old game, but it's still really good and it holds up in a modern gaming world. Now, obviously, it's going to be a far cry from what PoE 2 is going to look like, but they're doing really well. I just want to. It's a small line in the patch notes, but they do a lot of does a lot of heavy lifting. There are a lot of new uniques coming as well, and it is worth mentioning. We'll talk about this more later with the bad things, but Ashes has gotten nerfed a lot as well. But yeah, new uniques coming, and they have mentioned that there is a super powerful new amulet. Be interesting to see what that will be. I'm wondering if it'll be something similar with a lot of reservation, or maybe some similar to the Owl's amulet, maybe with even more power. I wouldn't be.
I don't like it when Path of Exile says, "Oh, there's a super powerful new thingamabloop coming in." I don't like it when they do that. Because they are intentionally doing it. Intentionally, every league they're adding this like super strong headhunter tier level of item, and I think that's bad. That's bad because it pushes power creep. They're not actively trying to, not push power creep. They're actively pushing power creep by doing this. They should just add in items with cool effects. And that's how they at least avoid some of the power creep.
Super surprised if we saw a Mage Blood tier item for the amulet slot. But yeah, there are quite a lot of really good things that I'm actually excited for here. Again, the best analogy I have is I'm a player that really wants a big sandbox. I don't necessarily care that about how many tools I have, like, different builds, etc. That's not the most important thing to me. I love having different things, which made the last league so good because I had so many things to swap between.
Dude, I don't even remember the last league. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember what the last league was about. Maybe I even skipped it. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, that's pretty much it about the league. Look forward to it because, man, it's gonna be good. And that was our boy Zizarian. Boom. There you go. Anyway, this was Quizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and already and have a nice day. Bye-bye.